Hey, Jeff, can you hear me?
Yeah, who was that just said that?
Uh,
Hey,
that that uh, that's Chris. Chris, you'll come in later in the call, but I can hear
Oh,
you.
okay. Oh, perfect. Perfect. All right, well, we're going to get started then. Hey, everyone, welcome to the webinar. This is Eric Holmlund, and I want to start out by saying thank you very much for being a subscriber of my Eric's Tips newsletter. And I know that you're an Eric's Tips subscriber because this is an exclusive webinar, and I only invited Eric's Tips subscribers. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We've got something special for you tonight, or today, depending on where you are in the world. Speaking of which, I should also mention we've got a pretty full webinar here, so don't leave or you might not be able to get back on. This webinar has never been done before, and you are the very first to get in on it. Yeah, you might want to put him on mute. As I mentioned in the email, you're going to discover a method of generating income using Google, using a strategy that my friend has been using to generate a consistent monthly income for the past 30 consecutive months. Are you hearing that feedback, Jeff?
Yeah, I am getting that. He's not appearing in the attendee list, so I can't mute him. Chris, if you're hearing that, why don't go on mute if you can.
Yeah, we're getting some feedback from his speakers, or unless it's I don't know if you have your speakers on.
No, I don't.
Okay.
There we go.
Chris.
Yep, got it fixed.
Okay, good. All right, so as I mentioned in the email, you're going to discover a method of generating income using Google, using a strategy that my friend Jeff here has been using to generate a consistent monthly income for the past 30 consecutive months. And there will be something for sale at the end of the webinar, so I encourage you to stick around so that you can see what we've got for you. But we really will be revealing the strategy and the source directly in this video. So this is for everyone. And I'll also mention that we'll open it up to questions in the question box area where you can type in your questions at the end of the presentation. So just hold on to your questions until the end because a lot of them will be answered throughout the webinar. And I'm going to introduce our special guest to you here in just a moment. First, I think it's important for you to understand how this webinar came to be. Now, this is not something that was pitched to me by another marketer. In fact, the webinar itself was my idea. The name of our special guest is Jeff Hunt, and I met him in person last year at the JV Alert Live seminar in Denver. I met both him and his wife, and they're great people. You're really going to like them. So we hung out for a couple days at that event, and Jeff told me about his internet business. And what he told me was really stunning. He's been making a consistent income from this method for over 2 years straight using Google. And what's amazing about that is that there's been multiple Google updates in that time period. You know, most marketers have been getting their sites slapped and losing their rankings, and consistent is just not a word that you would use to describe most marketers' relationships with Google. And, you know, while the source that we're going to reveal is something that you probably have seen before, it's not something that most marketers know about. And more specifically, they don't know how to turn it into an income stream. So it's really a very little-known niche overall. So I knew that this would be some great information to share with my Eric's Tips subscribers. I mean, would you like to have a consistent income stream from Google that brings in money month after month? Exactly. So I knew this would be a good fit. The only problem is Jeff's never revealed his methods or taught this before, with the exception of a couple of beta members just recently. So I actually pitched the idea of a webinar to Jeff and convinced him to share this information with you. And, you know, not only is this the first time he's doing it, I believe this is actually his first webinar ever. So
yeah, that's right.
I'm not expecting this. Yeah, so I'm not expecting this to be the most polished presentation you've ever seen. You know, it's probably already not, but you know, it's the information that counts, right? So, you know, he is the real deal, and this really is how he earns his income. You know, it's not a system that he put together for the purposes of selling it. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's a system that he built to earn a living for his family. And speaking of his family, that's another reason why I was really keen on having him do this for my subscribers. Me and Jeff share a lot of the same family values. He's got 4 kids. Most of you know that I have 5, and number 6 is actually on the way. And Jeff and his wife homeschooled their kids just as we're homeschooling ours. His are a little older than mine, and he actually has 2 of them at Purdue University right now, obviously proving that homeschooling worked. And they even learned to speak a West Asian language as well. And although his kids are a little older than mine, one of his daughters has some special needs and is pretty severely challenged. And so, you know, that's a full-time job in and of itself. And I have so much respect for that situation and how Jeff and his family have managed to live an active life in spite of it. In fact, they were full-time missionaries in a pretty crazy place, which he might mention to you. So all this goes to say, this is a guy that you can trust. He's the real deal, and I look forward to learning from him tonight. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Jeff Hunt.
Thank you very much, Eric. And thanks everyone else for being here and taking your time to be with us. Actually, I have something in common with all of you, too, on this call. I'm really an Eric Holman groupie myself. I have nothing but respect for his values and his approach to business, and I've just learned a ton from him over the years. So thanks, Eric, for everything that you've done for me.
My pleasure.
Well, it's really appreciated, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. So now on to this topic of Google's gift. It's something I actually find myself talking about all the time these days. And it usually happens when I'm sitting in Panera Bread with buddies from my corporate days for lunch, or going out to breakfast or coffee with these guys before they trudge into the office. We end up talking about everything, but almost always the conversation ends up going back to how they can make some extra money doing something on the internet, or we talk about their jobs and kind of a fallback plan in case they lose their job. And Eric, I bet you've had a lot of conversations like these along the way too.
Yeah, quite a few. Actually, I've probably had a couple of them at Panera Bread as well. It's a good place.
Yeah.
So, yep, definitely had quite a few of those.
Well, I don't know how you handle it, but when I get into it, I just start asking them about what their goals are, their skills, and their interests, and I start describing kind of the main strategies for being successful on the net. But then they always interrupt me and they say something like, yeah, Jeff, that's really interesting, but exactly how do you do it? And what strategy do you use personally? Because they know that I work at home now and that I'm never checking my watch and rushing off to a meeting. So I just start telling them about this thing I call Google's gift. And after a few minutes, they almost always say the same thing, just 3 little words: I want in. And that's never a big shocker to me when they say that. Of course they want in. And I think that when you hear about this strategy, you'll understand why they think that and why they say that. But first, very quickly, I do want to tell you a little bit about my background, and then I'll jump right in to explain what Google's gift is and why it has so much potential, and how it really got me able to earn a full-time living on the web and working at home. I think that there are a lot of people in the position that I was in about 4 years ago. But even before that, I want to go back 8 years when I decided to leave IBM. I'd been working there for about 13 years, and our family decided to move overseas to try to give back some of what the Lord had given us, which had been a lot. So we sold our house and everything in it. We packed up our 4 little kids, and we moved to this small country in West Asia that Eric referred to. And while we were there, we worked with small businesses and students, and we lived on a small but adequate salary from supporters back home. And along the way, I started dabbling in offline businesses and online businesses. The picture on the screen there is a real estate business that we started. And some of them were frankly not all that successful until I came across the method that I'm going to share with you guys today. And by the way, when I started doing all of this, I was using dial-up in a third world country. So it's not the kind of thing you need a lot of resources to actually do, what I'm going to explain to you today. But anyway,
I didn't actually realize that you had started a real estate business. So that Yakshi Khan shoe was
yeah,
your business?
that was my business, right? You see my business utility vehicle there. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, and that's kind of how we entered the real estate business. I mean, the internet business is we needed a website for that, and there wasn't one in that language, and so we built that whole site and database and all of that actually in 3 different languages. And that's why we got into the internet business. Fast forwarding then, we came back to the States about a year ago, and what I was doing more as a hobby over there to earn extra money on the side really had to become my full-time job, because I had no desire to go back to IBM, even though I had some excellent years there and I learned a lot. But the good news is that today, with one kid finished his first year in Purdue and the others on our way this fall, and then with the others still at home, there's plenty of money coming in to support our whole family very comfortably. And because this approach that we're going to talk about really requires very little effort once it's set up, I'm able to devote time to building my other internet businesses to kind of add to my portfolio. And I can't really claim that I've made $1 million in sales on the internet because I haven't yet. And I'm not a guru. I'm just a normal guy. I've got a big family, and I really don't want to go back to the corporate rat race if I can help it. And although I can't claim to be rich, I can tell you that every month since I've been working in this niche, that is the topic of this webinar, for almost 3 years, I've earned over $2K a month. And for the past 8 months, actually, I've earned more than $6K a month on this website business alone. So that's 34 months, almost 3 years, consistently earning more than $2K a month, and a great deal more than that in many months. In fact, last month we hit $11K for the first time. That was kind of our
Wow.
record.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. 11,000. That's really nice. So, I had mentioned in the email that I sent out that it was, it made at least 2,000 a month for the last 30 months. I didn't realize actually it's been 34 months, and in fact, now you're up to as much as 11,000 in a month. So, those are some really impressive numbers. That's really awesome.
Yeah, well, we really feel blessed, and it's just a solid niche, so we're happy to be in it. And this is the niche. These are the techniques that let us do it and not have to go back into looking for a job after being overseas for 7 years, which might not have been all that easy. But it's not all about money either. My wife and my kids really love it that I'm home now. And I love the flexibility personally of being able to work when and where I want to work, and being able to take off and not work when I have something more important or something more enjoyable to do. But that's all I'm going to say about me, and I know you guys got too much information, those who were, particularly those who were here at the beginning and were talking about injuries and stuff like that. But there is just one thing that I want you to know, and that is simply this. I want you to know that what we're going to talk about today is something a normal, non-technical person who's just willing to get some things set up can do and make significant amounts of money doing it, and consistently and over a long period of time. So that's the main message. So now I'm going to introduce you to our niche that we're going to talk about, and that is the news business. And specifically, it's the Google News business. Google News has been around now for over 10 years. They had their anniversary last fall, and it's a very important part of Google's strategy to deliver valuable content to the world, because news is valuable content, and in fact it's some of the content that some people value more than anything else. The great thing about being in Google News is that it brings a lot of traffic to your website. And Google News executives said that they get 1 billion views per week, 1 billion per week of the news.google.com website, and they get another 3
That's
billion.
a lot of traffic.
Yeah, well, and they get 3 billion, besides the 1 billion who actually go to the news portal, they also get 3 billion who look at news articles just straight from the search page alone. So that's like 4 billion people,
Okay.
or at least 4 billion views. But when you think about it, there only being 7 billion in the world, I mean, it's unbelievable, actually.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, it's like as big as Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. And I had more than 300,000 visitors last month in one of my news sites, and
Wow.
and it was actually a brand new site. I mean, there is simply no other method at all. I mean, none that I'm aware of that can bring in anywhere near that kind of free traffic to a new website. I mean, do you know of anything like that?
No, I mean, I think that's, like you just said, I think a key word that you used there was the word free. I mean, I could think of maybe paid traffic. I mean, of course, you can get anything if you pay for it. If you pay, you could buy $100,000 of banner ads and
Right.
get almost unlimited traffic. But to get 300,000 visitors to one site that's brand new, I mean, even like the most viral videos are rarely capable of driving that kind of traffic. Even Gangnam Style, with getting, 1 billion views or whatever, it's not driving traffic to other websites.
Yeah.
He's getting a bunch of iTunes downloads, but this is actually traffic to a website. So, yeah, I mean, there's really, I can't think of any other method that can bring that kind of free traffic to a brand new site.
Yeah, and even some of those other ones, that might have a peak and get, 500,000 or something, it's still just, it only lasts for a short period of time. So
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that's
another
phenomenal.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Google News is getting bigger. It's, as I said, 10 years old, and it's not going away. And whereas there are about 659 million websites on the internet, according to Google, there are only 50,000 Google-approved news sources. So a very, very tiny fraction of the internet sites are approved as sources of news. Something like 0.1% or something like that are accepted by Google as legitimate news sources. So let's take a quick look at why being in Google News sets your website apart from all the others. And obviously, we've already seen that it does in terms of traffic. But just take this search for a common phrase like life insurance. And you've all seen search pages like this. As you probably know, ranking #1 in Google search really guarantees, for at least for that search term, that you're going to get the maximum amount of traffic possible. And companies spend tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars to achieve #1 placement for really competitive search terms. So,
yeah. I mean, especially a search term like that. I mean, that's about as competitive a search term as you'll ever find. I mean, that's those, the pay-per-click ads on the sidebar. I mean, those guys are paying $10, $20 a click, and yeah, as far as the top-ranked sites, I mean, they're spending tens of thousands of dollars on SEO, in some cases maybe even millions, because you're right, that is how they get most of the traffic.
yeah, and if you look at kind of the top placeholders there below the ads anyway, you've got people like Geico. I mean, they spend tons of money on advertising, MetLife, and then there's always Wikipedia. So to get to #1 in search, your page has got to have like lots of authority, lots of age, and tons of backlinks from other well-known sites. So getting there and staying there is very difficult, time-consuming, and as you mentioned, you can do it with AdWords, but it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. If you're going to be at the top, especially.
Yep. And even then, it's not easy. That's the crazy thing about AdWords is, I mean, back in 2006, it was easy, but these days, not only does it cost a bunch of money, but it's also difficult to maintain those quality scores and have landing pages that they like and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's right. You got to struggle to stay up there.
Yep.
So what I wanted to show you was this next slide, because towards the top of this one we've got a news entry. Google realized several years ago that news is really important in search results, because sometimes people just want us to know what happened today, and any content that was just published today was never going to make it to page 1 of Google unless Google did something to help it. So Google, in fact, did do something. They started putting brand new content on page 1 and pushing the older, more mature search results down the page. So like in this case, we've got this search for Dallas Cowboys, and there's this clear block entitled News for Dallas Cowboys. So they artificially inserted a section for news, and the news doesn't have to compete in the way that every other site competes for #1 placement in Google. So in this search, it's just amazing. The news actually outranks DallasCowboys.com on a search for Dallas Cowboys. So that just kind of shows you the power of the news search capability. Okay, so now if you've got a Google News site and you publish a new article about something that's new and popular, like the new Wii game console or the latest big screen TV or college scholarship or something about credit cards or fad diet, then Google will stick it on page 1, sometimes at the top, sometimes at the bottom, but they'll do it within like 5 to 10 minutes of when you posted the article on your website. But there is a catch. In order for your content to get that extra help from Google to make it to page 1, obviously your website's got to be included in Google News. And this is Google's gift. It's simply your website on page 1 of Google without paying anything, without backlinks, without traditional SEO, and that's why I've called it a gift from Google. And I was trying to think about other gifts that Google has passed out along the way, and the one that I thought of was Google Shopping. As you probably know, anybody who's been in the e-commerce business or tried to sell products on the internet like that, physical products, for a while there, Google would list your store alongside Amazon.com and Walmart and the other big name giants, and they did it for free. But now they've actually taken that privilege away as well, so that gift is gone, and you have to pay for AdWords, I think, now. So there aren't very many gifts that Google gives out. So it really wouldn't surprise you to hear that.
So I just want to reiterate that because I think it just bears repeating, what you just said, because I think it's important that people catch it. This is really the secret right here. I mean, this is like kind of the secret that we're revealing. Google News is Google's gift. Like he said, what the gift is your website on page 1 of Google without having to pay for advertising, without even having to go out and build backlinks, and without even having to do SEO. So, I mean, that truly is a gift. I can't really think of any other, gift like that Google's giving out right now. They just came out with Google Glass. That's certainly not a gift. I mean, I think they're charging like $1,800 for it, and yet, be on the exclusive list to get it and stuff. So, this is Google's gift. All right, carry on.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I was trying to think of other things like that. When YouTube first came out, there were you could get great placement and use it to drive traffic and things like that. But that was more of a technique and not so much a gift. So I can't think of much else that's like it. So because of this, it wouldn't surprise you at all to hear that Google News sites are in high demand, and actually newly accepted Google News sites that haven't even made any money sell and flip it for about $3,000, and older news sites that have a little bit of a track record of earnings go for a lot more than that. So if you wanted to be in the news business and you didn't even want to kind of do day-to-day operation and write articles all the time, you could still just build these news sites, get them approved, and sell them. And in fact, that's not a bad strategy if you want to have like multiple sites. So with a Google News site, there are a lot of things that you can do, but the important one, of course, is making money by selling ads. And you can set up free Google AdSense accounts. You can use other ad networks, and there are a lot of ways that you can sell ads. And with that much traffic, you can actually do really well. I mean, a lot of people don't do well in AdSense on their blogs, but that's partially because they don't have a lot of traffic. You can build email lists, because you can put little ads up there that point at a squeeze page, or put a squeeze page on the Google News site itself. You can drive traffic to other businesses and websites, and I've done that over time, and you can certainly increase your reputation and authority in the topics that you write about. And actually, you don't have to just choose one of these things. You can do all of them if you have a news site. If it's
so I'm gonna put you on the spot just a little bit here.
Sure.
Because I know you're not expecting this question, but where would you say the majority of your income comes from out of the monetization methods?
Yeah, mine clearly comes from AdSense. I've used some other methods, and I've used the site strategically for other reasons. But in terms of the cash, it's AdSense, it's InfoLinks, and those kind of things.
And I mean, AdSense is easy. I mean, really.
Oh yeah.
But it comes down to, it's like one of the easiest monetization methods on the planet. So, kind of like you said at the beginning of the webinar, this is something that is not. You don't have to be a technical guru to pull this off. AdSense is a real easy method of monetization, and that's how you're making the bulk of your income. For those of you that are on the call that are experienced internet marketers, I mean, you could probably do even better, because there are other ways of monetization that you could implement. I mean, if you're skilled at list building, I mean, that's traffic that you can monetize over and over again. So basically, Jeff's monetizing it using one of the easiest possible methods, but really there's no limit to the ways that you can monetize it. I mean, you can do any combination of things. So that's cool. Just wanted to put that out. I thought it was AdSense, but I actually wasn't entirely sure. So
yeah,
that's actually cool. That's actually cool that it is, because that's something that basically anyone can do.
Yeah, that's right. And you start getting a name for yourself when you get a site like that. You start attracting other ad networks. Like I've had people from car companies, financial companies, those kind of companies who sell
yeah.
ads in those spaces, and they they come to you and they say we can beat AdSense, and so in many cases they can. So yeah, there's just a ton of ways.
Cool.
Okay, so what I wanted to say is on this business of what's the catch. If it's such a great thing to get into Google News, then obviously the big question is why doesn't everybody do it? And it is not because it's hard to create the website itself, because it's really just a simple WordPress blog. And I would hazard to guess that probably a lot of people on this call have their own WordPress site, and if they don't, it's really easy to do. There's millions of those that have been built by all kinds of people around the world. And so it's not because it's difficult to build the site. It's also not because you have to have some special business or certification or unique qualifications. The reason that not everybody does it is simply, number one, most people really don't know about the benefits of Google News. I think the things that we've just talked about in the last 5 or 10 minutes, I think the vast majority of the people, even internet marketers, really aren't aware of them. So that's one of the reasons. And then the second reason is for those who are aware, they just don't know how to get their site accepted by Google as a news source. So that's really, I think, what keeps people out. And there was a time a few years ago that actually
That's just was thinking about that, and it is interesting because I think I remember back kind of in the early days of Google News, I kind of had that same thinking that in order to get into Google News, you would have to be like a newspaper or be some sort of like official news source, like your like the AP, or have some kind of certification. Like, I mean, really anyone can be a news source, but it sounds like you're saying that yes, anyone can become a news source.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that's one of the things that Google did well. They look across the spectrum of people who want to publish content on the web, and they realize that it isn't just kind of the academics and the journalists who are capable of publishing good news. So they really kind of expanded the net to include smaller publishers. And yeah, so they do have some serious requirements and some things that they look for, but like an official qualification or accreditation or things like that is not one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and you're right, and a few years ago actually it was fairly easy to get into Google News, and Google decided that they were really letting too many people in that didn't really deserve to be there in terms of the quality of their site. So they actually tightened down on the acceptance standards, and actually a lot fewer people get their sites accepted now. And just much like Google, they, as you referred to, the search algorithms that have changed, Penguin and Panda and those kind of updates, they've also made some changes to Google News. And one of the things they've changed is sort of their criteria and how they let people in and what they look for. And actually I got started in the news business when it wasn't that difficult to get in, but even though the rules have changed, I've actually had 5 news sites accepted in the past 12 months. So I still have a very firm grasp, I believe, on what they're looking for. And really, the truth is it doesn't take any more time or effort or money now than it ever did, even in the good old days, to get into Google News. But what it does require is knowing what to do and what not to do, because they'll kick you out or not accept you in a heartbeat if you kind of miss some of the key components. So that's really, you prompted me to do this webinar, and we created this course about Google News because literally there's nowhere else that you can go to find these strategies on how to get your site accepted into Google News with relative certainty. And these strategies for me are 100% based on my experience. They're working now, and we're very confident that they'll work every bit as well for you as they have worked for us. So you may be wondering whether you have the skills or knowledge to be able to get into Google News yourself. And the answer to that is that I've taken care all the way through the course that we put together to provide step-by-step instructions on how to do everything, every aspect of putting a news site together. And it's all done, on the screen in videos, so people can see exactly where to click and which boxes to check. And I took great pains to make sure that this course would work for people who are not technical and don't even want to be technical. And for those who do know their way around WordPress and don't need the blah, blah, blah instructions, the course is laid out in a way that you can skip the pieces that you don't need. So each lesson has both a video and lesson notes, so you can browse through it and refer back to things as you go about building your new site and getting it accepted into Google. So not only will this course get you into Google News, it will also help make you profitable in your business, and that's a key component, because for me, news is a business. It's not just a gimmick. I'm in it for the money, and if it ever stops making money, then I'm going to get out of it. I'm always looking for new strategies to try to drive more money out of my news sites. News is not going to go away. Google adds approximately 400 new websites as news sources every month. Now this is a number, they've never revealed this number, but when you do the math of how many sites there are and how long they've been accepting the sites and things like that, you come up with a pretty big number. So they're still accepting a large number of sites every month, and that probably means there's some number of sites they're not accepting as well. That might be a big number, I'm not sure. Now, when we started talking about doing a course, my wife was kind of concerned that I'd be giving away all my secrets by creating a course like this on how to get into news and how to operate a news site. But really, the reality for me is that I'm just a drop in a very big bucket, and there's tons of room for new news site owners like me. When you follow these steps and you create your own news site, you'll be more like a brother in arms to me, not a competitor. Because really the competitors are the big newspapers like Wall Street Journal and New York Times that even at Google News definitely get more airtime than kind of the smaller sites. So I'm not a sales guy. I don't make my living on the internet by convincing people to buy stuff from me. I make my money just by following this process to set up news websites, submit it to Google, get people to write articles, and then start collecting money from what comes in on the ads on the site. So really simple process. That's it. I don't have to sell anything. And I put that in here because I thought that might be appealing for a lot of you who may not have the skills in marketing or don't have the emotional stamina to just constantly try to get people to part with their money. On my news sites, people click on ads and I collect the money. It's like you said earlier, it's just really simple, the simplest model there can be really for monetization. And they just do it all the time, 24 hours a day, whether I'm at my desk or not. Now, if I were, a specialist at marketing, maybe my sites would do even better, but actually they do just fine. And I say that, with all sincerity. I'm sure there are things that I could improve. So if you've tried a lot of different strategies like blogging or mini sites or affiliate marketing or whatever, and none of them are taking off for you, then news is really a good direction for you, because it is not something that's fly by night. It's very predictable. You follow the steps and you get the results. You learn along the way, and it's actually kind of fun being your own media mogul. People ask what you do, and you can say, I'm in the news business. And that's a lot better than saying, I push the latest diet pill, or I'm an email marketer or something like that. Yeah, I sometimes wonder what you tell people, Eric, about what you do.
Hey, I don't push diet pills.
Okay, this wasn't supposed to be a slight to anybody or anything like that. Hey, all right. Let's see. Let's go ahead and jump in here.
All right.
This is what you're going to get in this course that we put together. Oops. I tell you what, we got some slides out of order. All right, since this one came up, let's go ahead and talk about it. The reason I put this in here is because I know when I've been on webinars, one of the things that I'm always thinking about is, hey, if this method works so well, then why is the guy selling it? And so, for example, like if this guy's so good at trading stocks, why is he spending his time teaching people to trade, and why doesn't he just get rich trading himself? So if the news business is so great, why are you creating a course? Why not just stick to the news? And the answer to that is really simple. It's called leverage your assets to multiply your results. Leverage your assets to multiply your results. So, for example, if you're good at gardening, by all means, you want to manage a garden, but you can leverage and multiply that by creating a book about gardening or teaching a class about gardening or creating a video or writing newspaper articles about gardening. So the idea is you take something that you know and leverage it for the good of the people around you, and also you just get better returns for yourself on your own assets and abilities. And so that's what I'm doing. And as it applies to the folks on this call, whatever skills that you have, desires, abilities, I guarantee you that you can leverage those and multiply them in the news business. If you, I mean, there's a lot of things you can apply to this.
It's interesting that you brought up the, the stock trader, comparison, because that is one niche that I am in. And, I've partnered with a very successful stock trader, and that is a question that we do sometimes get. It's if he's such a successful stock trader, then why is he, why are you selling this course revealing his methods and strategies? And you're exactly right, and that's pretty cool. I like how you put it on this, this slide. I've never seen it, put as a formula quite like that. But that's exactly why he does it. It's leverage. He actually takes the profits that he makes from selling the course, and he invests it right into his stock trading business. He puts it into his Thinkorswim account and just keeps on building up his portfolio. So, yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah,
so hopefully that explains why Jeff would do this.
Yeah,
and also because I twisted his arm.
Well, I think that's a nugget that people can take away on this call. I mean, no matter what part of the internet marketing niche that you're in, if you've got an asset, even if it's something as simple as, let's say you have an article, well, you can take that and repurpose it. You can make it into a video, you can make it into an audio, you can, you can spread it around on different sites. So any asset that you have, you just want to multiply it, no matter what you've got. It's a really basic principle in business. So, all right, so here's what's in the course. Okay, we've got 21 videos, and this is more than 3 hours of instruction, and it's actually live demonstration that takes you step by step through all of the little pieces. How to choose a domain and a site name, and the site name in this case, it actually will probably be your news publication name. How to set up the website, everything from buying a domain to signing up for hosting to installing WordPress, all of that. What design elements are important and which ones really aren't important. How to quickly create the site layout and design that you want. The most critical pages on your site that will literally make or break your acceptance by Google. I mean, the presence of these particular pages and the content of them are what Google's looking for. And then there's 2 other critical things that Google has to see on your site if they're going to accept it. And if they don't see those things, they just won't accept it. And what kind of articles you need to write, how long, what should they be about, whether you need pictures or not, where you get the pictures, and then finding low-cost writers if you don't want to write the articles yourself. And I would never write the art. I did start out writing articles myself, but I very quickly moved to a model where I just hire people to do it because you can find them very inexpensively, and that's just a lot better way to crank.
It just goes back to leverage, like you said before. It's all about leveraging. Of course, if you're someone out there that likes to write, you can write your own articles. So.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you'll just get a hankering, man, I ought to put an article about this out there, and you do it, and you think, yeah, I bet Google would really love that, and they do. And then, very importantly, how to apply to Google, and this has detailed instructions on like what to type into every single field on the Google application form, how to maximize the profits from your new site, how to leverage your new site for other purposes other than just direct ad revenue, and then just a lot of other things that I'm not going to list here. There's also a 50-page manual that covers all the high points from each video. And then very importantly, we have something called the Profit Maximizer Handbook. And in this manual, we explain all the methods to choose articles that deliver the most daily profit. So Some article topics are a lot more profitable than others, so this guide helps you to find the ones that you should be focusing on. Titles of articles are incredibly important, and we'll teach you which title characteristics really deliver the profit. You don't want to write about everything. We'll tell you what not to write about. We'll explain which articles attract which kinds of ads so that you get the highest paying ads. There are articles and subject areas where you might get a lot of traffic, but the kind of companies that advertise for those articles, just deliver just a couple of cents per click, but you can do way, way better than that. So we'll explain all of that. And this business model, frankly, can be very hands-on or very hands-off, and it all boils down to whether you do your own writing or not primarily. So this guide will show you how to effectively outsource that writing, and you can do it, as I mentioned earlier, really for pretty cheap. And maybe the most important thing is the membership area. This is a membership area for Google's for owners, people who have built their own Google News sites and been accepted. So these are people kind of who are practitioners like me, and it'll be for those of you too who are just building a site, you'll be able to interact with news site owners and those who are working on getting in and have access to other kind of additional high-value resources related to the news business, little tools that you can use on your websites. You'll be able to market your website and services to other members in the community. You can access other kinds of techniques to grow your news site, and then I hang out in the owners area as well, so you have access to me. At this point, I wanted to introduce you to Chris. Chris is a great guy. He's on the call with us right now. He's a great family guy. He's got 3 kids that he adopted from Kenya. Stays on top of a pretty demanding full-time job. He has really high-quality values and ethics, and he just got into the news business recently himself. So Chris, hopefully you're still around and you can chime in here. And
yeah, can you hear me okay?
Okay, yeah, yep, coming in good. So why don't you just tell us your story?
Yep, happy to. Thanks, Jeff. Well, hi, my name, as Jeff mentioned, is Chris, and I went through Jeff's Google News course, and with guidance from his course, over time I hired some professional freelance writers to write legitimate original news articles and just built my site up over time. Now, along the way, I did have a few general questions more specific to the actual online news business model, and I posted them out on the forum, or I think as Jeff called it, the membership area, and Jeff answered them right away. He was very, very helpful, provided a lot of good guidance along the way. And then once my site was ready for prime time, I applied to become a Google News approved site, and within 2 weeks, actually 2 weeks exactly, I received acceptance from Google News. And I'm certain I could not have done this without some of the tips that Jeff mentioned and without going through his course. So it helped me to not only build my site, but it also gave me the kind of the details on the business model and what really is required to become a Google News-worthy site. So initially, before I was accepted into Google News, my news site actually received pretty minimal traffic. But after becoming a Google News approved site, in my first full month, I literally had 125,000 unique visitors to my site. And then the other good thing is that I made $2,300 in ad revenue the first month.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, so for me, I found it to be a great opportunity. It had a fairly low financial risk. Since I have a full-time job, I wasn't able to jump in fully, so it was a nice way to test the water and just kind of get my feet wet in a web-based business. So I found it to be a great niche, and like I said, Jeff's course was a great help, and he was great with his answers to my questions in the forum.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chris. Yeah, I was just delighted that your site did so well, and that's fantastic. Couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks very much. And and it's not just Chris. Like even Eric mentioned that we're homeschooling our kids, and my wife and my 13-year-old son actually right now are going through the news course as sort of a homeschool project. and he's got most of the site set up, and he'll be ready to submit it, I think, in probably a week or so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, I know when I ran into your son, he was selling all the toys in his room or something.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been selling stuff on eBay, so I actually should set him up with this news course. I actually very well may do that because he's 12 going on 13, so he can definitely do it.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, it really is. I mean, I'm not making it up. It's really simple. I mean, it'll stretch him to to send emails to people who are older than him and those kind of things. But I think it's really good for him. It's nothing that he can't do.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. All right. I just wanted to say, we kind of said what the course is. I want to say real quickly what it is not. Please understand, this is not just some lame $10 ebook. It's not like tips or little tricks or secrets. It's not something that you can just throw in a drawer or My Documents folder. It's not fly-by-night or untested or just made to sell. It's actually very different than that. This course is really for people who are serious about kickstarting their internet career. It's for those who want to earn some money on the side, or for those who want to work only for themselves and really step it up. And also to make a living without the stress of bosses and customers. I mean, to some extent you always have some kind of customers, but I tell you what, with something like AdSense, you're almost as separated as you can get from a lot of people. So, and it gives you time to do the things that are more important to you. And so, one of the things is I don't have a lot of interaction when I'm sitting at home behind my computer, but like I said, I actually get out a lot more for breakfast and lunches with other guys than I used to have a chance to do. So, news is proven, reliable. It's a strategy I've been using for 3 years, brings in thousands of dollars every month. It works. So this is the kind of thing that you might learn in a weekend seminar where you go off and pay $2,000, but it costs a lot less than that this course does, and the value lasts a lot longer because we're always going to be there to support you in the members area. You'll get support from me and the brain trust of other news site pursuers whenever you need it. So we're not going to charge $2,000 for this course, although if we did, you'd really be able to get your money back in a very short period of time.
Yeah, that would have been a fair price.
Yeah, but yeah, because literally, Chris would have been on the way to making more than $2,000 in really less than 2 months, and we're not going to charge $1,000 for this either. We're going to charge $495, and that is what it would cost to get you started earning money online and in a very systematic way. This is really a high quality, high integrity system, and it'll put you on the road to, if you want it, a permanent online job. If you don't want it, to just a ready cash stream that you can use for other things. This price is not likely to go up. It's also not likely to go down. There's just that much value in it. There's no reason to change the price in that way. So you can get in right now by going to this link, newschest.com/Eric. And if you follow this system and become a member of the elite group of Google News site owners, this may well be the best investment you've ever made. And I mean that sincerely. I mean, I spent a lot more than $495 to get started in the news business 3 years ago. And I can tell you that it was really the best investment I ever made. It's just paid off month after month after month. It was really worth every penny of it. Again, I want to emphasize this is a serious system for people who are serious about making a living online. I believe really that the majority of you who sign up today for this course will indeed follow the system. You'll go through the process, get your very own news site set up. You'll get it approved by Google. You'll be thrilled when that email comes in from Google News saying, yeah, we accepted your site. And after all, it really isn't that much time to invest or money to spend, to actually have that kind of an asset of having an approved Google News site in your coffers. So, especially
awesome.
yeah, so it's a good thing.
So, and then are you doing a money-back guarantee on this, Jeff?
Yeah, we are. 30-day money-back guarantee.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So 30-day money-back guarantee. And, you know, as Jeff just said, you know, he wanted to emphasize that this is a serious system for people who are, you know, serious about making a real living online. I also want to emphasize a couple of things here, too. You know, first of all, we've revealed the secret on this webinar already for free. You know, as Jeff said earlier, you know, Google News is Google's gift. You know, the gift is your website on page 1 of Google without paying for advertising, without having to go and get a bunch of backlinks, without having to do SEO. That's the gift. And so you can take that knowledge and run with it right now if you want to. Now, you can go out and figure out how to use Google News on your own. We've proven that it's profitable, so you know that it's something worth pursuing. In other words, you know, we've certainly delivered on the promise that we were going to reveal the income source to you on this webinar. At the same time, Jeff has a wealth of knowledge and experience that you can tap into. You know, as he also mentioned, it really helps to know what to do and what not to do. You know, you could go and figure it out by trial and error on your own, but I wouldn't recommend it. You know, you could actually risk getting on Google's bad side, which is something you obviously don't want to do. And, you know, Jeff's got it down to a step-by-step system that anyone can follow, including his 13-year-old. Plus, he's willing to answer your questions and help make sure you succeed. So I feel that the price he's asking is more than fair. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this webinar. I once got sucked into doing a webinar in the past, and I didn't realize it was a $2,000 product that probably wasn't worth that much, and I actually regretted doing that webinar. This, on the other hand, is something that I'm very happy to endorse. I mean, we're talking $495 for the system that Jeff has used to make thousands of dollars a month for over 2 years straight, you know, going on almost 3 years now. So that's a very low price for an income stream like that. You know, obviously, he didn't have to share this with us, so I'd say this is a really great deal. The other thing that I want to point out is that, you know, we're not giving you a bunch of hype and fake scarcity here. In case you hadn't noticed, you know, Jeff's not exactly the most polished salesman. In fact, he mentioned earlier on the webinar he's not even really, you know, a salesman. If he were, he probably would have worded things maybe a little differently. You know, at the end, you know, I like to use words like, you know, you did this, your small investment today of only $495. Instead, he just came up with a slide and said, we're going to charge you $495. So, you know, it wasn't, you know, particularly salesy of him, but that just goes to show he's a real guy, and, you know, he's not doing this just to try to, you know, get into your wallet or something. This is just what he does, and this is, you know, this is his business that he, you know, runs to make an income, and he's put together this course so that you can do the same thing. And so, you know, you may have also noticed we're not giving you a bunch of, you know, hype and scarcity here. You know, if you've been on the webinar, been on other webinars in the past, you know, they usually tell you there's only like 20 copies available, and they sell 200 copies or more. You know, we're not going to do that because it's not honest, and frankly, we want you to trust us for the long term, not just for this one thing. That having been said, there are a few reasons why you really need to grab this right now. So there is some urgency. Okay? It's not fake scarcity, but there is some urgency to it. For one thing, this is an exclusive webinar. All right? This is not currently being made available to the public. So, you know, if you want this money-making system, this is the time to grab it. This is also something that's working right now. You know, once you're in and you've got your Google News site approved, you're in for the long term. But we don't know how long this window of opportunity is going to last. You know, as Jeff mentioned, Google's accepting about 400 new news sites per month right now. We don't know. They might end up closing that window of opportunity. But, you know, once you're in, you're in. So it's important that you jump on this immediately so that you can create your own income stream with Google News. And then, you know, also, as he mentioned, he's including a 30-day money-back guarantee. So, you know, on that note, there's really no reason to hesitate. It's basically risk-free. So, you know, if you want in on this program, now's the time to take action. Once this webinar is over, it's over. So go ahead and type in the address into your address bar. Obviously, that link there in the webinar is not clickable, so you just have to type it into the address bar of your browser. And that address is newschest.com/Eric. My name, obviously. That's, you know, the special offer that we've put together for you. And that'll take you to the sign-up page. And it's the first page, I think, is the sign-up page for the membership site. So you kind of put in like a username and and something like that, like username that you want to use. And then from there, I believe it goes through PayPal. You're using PayPal to process payments, right, Jeff?
That's right.
Yeah, so from there it'll take you through PayPal, which is obviously a totally secure platform for processing your one-time payment as well. Okay, so Jeff, how about doing a quick recap of what they're going to get, and then after that we can answer some questions.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I'll go through that, and you can take a look at some of the questions that have come in. This is kind of the recap. You're going to get a premier membership in the Google News Mastery course for a lifetime. It's not going to expire. You're going to get the 21 videos and notes that go with all of those videos on how to get your site set up and get it approved, the 50-page course manual, and something we called the Profit Maximizer Guide. This is, if you recall, this is what tells you how to choose articles that will be profitable for you and how to put the right titles together and to drive the most traffic to your site and to get as much out of it as you possibly can after you get it approved by Google News. So these are the main things that you're going to get, and including the owner's access area, which is a forum where you'll be able to have access to me, ask all of your questions, and also kind of interact with the other people who are going through the process of getting their site set up as well. So that's pretty much it. Eric, are there some questions that would be good for us to address for the whole crowd here?
I'll dig into the questions here, and I can kind of read the questions and kind of manage them here since you're new to this whole webinar thing. And
okay.
As you guys know, I don't do many webinars where we sell stuff, but I do webinars for my coaching club, a couple of times a month, and so I am a little bit familiar with the system. So let's see here. Unfortunately, one person had a medical emergency and had to leave the webinar early.
Yeah.
All right. So okay. So here's the first question I see that's probably going to be, I'm guessing a few people are asking it. He says, I know we will need web hosting, domain, etc., but other than the cost of this course, are there any other costs?
Yeah, and that's a good question, and that's exactly right. You'll need the domain and web hosting, and beyond that, the only cost that you'll have will be if you choose to outsource the writing, and I actually recommend that you do outsource writing. You can get actually pretty good quality writing these days for 1 penny per word, which is $1 for 100 words. And in the course, we'll kind of tell you how many articles that you need to have, and so you'll get an idea of how much that would add up to if you outsource all the articles. But honestly, you can go to Google with probably 40 to 45 articles for acceptance on your site. So you don't need a ton of articles, and if you chose to write those yourself, you would only have the cost of the domain and the hosting, and really nothing beyond that.
Cool. So, as you guys know, hosting and domains don't cost a whole lot. I cover domains in lesson 23 in Eric's tips. I cover hosting in lesson 24. You can get your domain for under 10 bucks. You can get your hosting for, like $5 a month. So the required costs are not a whole lot. Greg asks, how often do you need to post new news?
Well, the more often you post, the more money you make. A lot of the money that you make for an article happens the very day you post it. Probably about 80% of the money that you make from each article rolls in the day you post it, and then you'll get some money after that. You can get by with posting just 2 or 3 articles a week in terms of having enough articles out there for Google to keep you in good stead as a news source. However, most people who are in this business, they publish something like 5 to 10 a day, and if you're in a position to ramp that up to more than that, and then you can certainly do that and make more money with more articles per day. And what I advise people is that they start with a few articles and get the hang of which articles make money and what to look for, and then as they get better at choosing article topics, then you can just crank up the volume and crank up the profits, and essentially that's what we did. That's why we made more last month than the month before, and so on.
Cool. So Jason was wondering, like, have you ever had any sites that Google's turned down? And I guess I would add to that question, what happens if someone's website gets rejected by Google?
Yeah, I have had a site that was not approved by Google, and there are really two approaches, and maybe even more than that. But what you can do is you can tweak the site, and then if you have some idea of why it got turned down, and you can get advice from other people like myself or maybe other owners who have sites and know what Google's looking for. So you could tweak it and then reapply sometime later. Now, Google recently has said that you have to wait for 60 days to reapply. So that's really a long time. So that's probably not the leading method. Another thing that you can do is take all the content that you developed for your original site and move it over to a new site with a different name and a different brand. And because Google doesn't really read all of the articles, they just kind of look at a sampling of them. You can effectively do that and then add a few more current news articles and resubmit under another site name. And so, between those two techniques, you can get it accepted if it doesn't fly the first time.
So, basically that's not something that, you're real concerned about. I mean, it sounds like if someone's site were to get turned down, you could basically advise them kind of what they might need to tweak and, help them to get through that obstacle.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we've had so many get accepted now that we feel like we pretty much have Google's angle. Of course, who knows? They could change their acceptance criteria or whatever. We don't know about that, but
sure.
But for now,
cool. Yeah, that's cool. Well, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if something major changes in the next 30 days, at least you get your risk-free there. Rod is asking, where do you get the articles? And I don't know how. You don't necessarily have to reveal your exact source. I don't know, if that's kind of proprietary, but just in general.
Yeah, well, I mean, generally we write about breaking news stories. So everywhere that there's information about news, whether it's on Yahoo News or Google News or other kinds of big news publications, or sometimes you can look at corporate websites and find out what they're releasing to the press or those kind of things. So anything that's basically new news that's not like an encyclopedia article is fair game for news.
Okay. And Kevin was wondering, how do you check the accuracy of the news articles being written? He says, editing is not a trivial task. Is that something that you worry about?
Yeah, I mean, sounds like he has some experience with editing, and that's right.
It sounds like more. I think that's talking probably more about outsourcing.
Yeah, that's right. And the key really is to find writers who write good stuff to begin with. It doesn't require a lot of editing, and those people are out there. There are a ton of newspapers that are produced in countries where people's English is like a second language, and they don't write that well. So frankly, Google is concerned about grammar and things like that, but it isn't their ultimate and primary concern. So editing usually is not a really big concern, but you definitely want to find people who write well to begin with so that it minimizes any editing that you might have to do.
Okay. So actually I can answer this one. DL was asking, what is the monetization method used? We actually covered that earlier on the webinar. The main one that you use is AdSense, and then I think you mentioned one other ad network that you use.
Yeah, we use InfoLinks, which is the in-text ads. Yeah.
Okay. So AdSense and InfoLinks are his main monetization. But as we mentioned, you can monetize it in many different ways. You're in no way limited to those methods. And so, if you have marketing experience, you may be able to do even better by incorporating other monetization methods. Let's see, Michael was asking, could this method be used without AdSense? So basically this is kind of the similar question. Could this method be used without AdSense? If so, what services would you recommend? because he was dropped from AdSense a while back. Okay, so that's an obstacle that some people may have, is that they may have been disapproved from AdSense. Maybe they were using some kind of old school website generator like Traffic Equalizer without putting unique content on it or something, and that's maybe AdSense flagged them and kicked them out of the program. If that's your situation, as I just mentioned, you can actually monetize this with virtually anything. The one that you just mentioned, what's it called?
Infolinks.
Infolinks.
Yeah.
So Infolinks is one right there that you can use. I know that there's definitely other ad networks, PPC ad networks that you could tap into as well. Not to mention just getting direct advertising with companies. Like Jeff said, some of them are willing to pay you more than AdSense. Like those companies that are paying for life insurance ads and stuff. They're paying per click. They're paying a ton of money to get that traffic. They may be willing to if you have a site that's in their niche or something like that, they may be willing to pay you some good money as well. And stuff like life insurance is really a mass market product, so I would say those types of advertisers would definitely be fair game for a news site.
Yeah, well, let me take a question from John here. He says, Jeff, are you recommending only developing those articles after determining what you're promoting via AdSense? Is that a fair analysis? Well, actually, the great thing about AdSense is that Google on the fly analyzes your article content. So if you've written about a mobile phone or a car or a financial product or what have you, a medical issue, Google already knows what the keywords are in your article, and it applies the ad that is appropriate for your article. So really you can just focus on choosing the kind of articles that you want, and then if you use AdSense or some of the other ad networks, then those ad networks will put the appropriate ads next to your articles.
Okay. So that question actually, interestingly kind of relates to one just below it that Ann asked as far as, these sites, do you get into niches for your news or you just write articles on general topics?
You can do either one, actually. And if you have an interest or knowledge or passion about a niche, then Google will accept niche websites as well as general websites where you have, the general news categories like technology, health, science, politics, world, those kinds of things. So either one.
Okay, cool. Derek had mentioned, what about CPA? I think that's in regards to some of the monetization methods, and yeah, I mean, that's a great idea. You can certainly use CPA advertising. There's plenty of CPA networks that you can tap into. He was also wondering if this will get back to the Warrior Forum. I hope not. I don't think so, because this is an exclusive webinar, and so I don't think Eric's Tips subscribers are going to go sharing all this stuff on the Warrior Forum. And obviously, this stuff that's in the paid area, if you're going to pay $4.95, for access to this exclusive course, you're not going to go leak it on the Warrior Forum. I mean, that we would not be happy about that, and we would just have them take it down. So I don't think you have to worry about that. Yeah. Let's see here. How long is a typical wait to hear about being approved? I think you had mentioned that already. Was it like 4 weeks or something? Or
well, actually, most of mine took me only a week. They responded back to me literally in about 7 days. However, I think Chris's, I think it took 2 weeks for them to get back to him. Sometimes around holidays it can be longer than 2 weeks. So it's something like that. It would be between 1 week and 3 weeks generally.
Okay. Now, Jason was asking, do RSS feeds from a third party qualify for Google News? I'm going to assume they do not. It probably needs to be original content, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just syndicate content for someone from somewhere else. It's more the opposite. You could have RSS feeds that is probably being syndicated from your news site, I would think.
Yeah, that's right.
But you wouldn't be bringing in those RSS feeds and publishing it.
Yeah, that's correct. And one thing that I didn't mention is that in a very short period of time, because you get so much traffic and exposure to other people and websites, you end up getting a lot of backlinks just kind of automatically. They just people start linking to you. So That kind of, so actually the PR of your site kind of builds by itself over time, and as that builds, then some of your older articles start getting traffic as well.
Cool. Nils was wondering, would it be possible to get writers for a news site in the trading niche if you are not a trader yourself without paying a lot of money to extremely expensive experts? And I can actually kind of answer that one because I am in the trading niche, and I also know a little bit about trading-related news, as I've done a little bit of research on it. And actually, there was an article about it in Wired magazine a number of months back, or something similar. And the answer is that no, you don't have to pay an expert trader to write articles about that are trading related, because most of financial news is really just about the numbers. And those numbers are publicly available in a number of places. In fact, many of the financial articles that are being written these days by some of the big news sources are actually being written robotically, and that's something that I don't know if Jeff has gotten into yet, but that's something that once you get your news site approved, you might look into some automation methods if you are so inclined. I mean, this is not something you want to take one of those cheap $5 internet marketing article twister software things, but there's some real sophisticated software out there and some companies that you can hire that will actually generate robotic written articles for you and send them to your site. And the way they do that is they basically scrape these numbers from a number of different places. And so things like the Dow Jones and all the stock prices and all that kind of stuff is very readily available information that can be pulled and scraped from different sources. And so an inexperienced writer can basically use a formula. It's kind of like plug and play. I mean, you can have a template with several different options that they can take these numbers and plug into and do some customization and make it a unique financial article. So I guess the whole artificial intelligence thing is probably not going to be for everyone because it's still kind of on the cutting edge, but that at least goes to say that a low-budget outsourced writer would be capable of writing those kind of articles.
Yeah.
Would you say so, Jeff?
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and that applies to so many different things, like as you mentioned, stocks, but also sports scores and commodities and just all kinds of things that are sort of data-driven. Let me grab a couple more questions here. How time-consuming daily is the system? If you have writers who are trained, they can actually choose their own article topics. Early on, you may write the articles yourself, and that would take more time. If you assign article topics to your writers, if you're assigning like 5 to 10 articles a day to be written, then that can take as little as 15 or 20 minutes a day. That's how Chris did it, that you just heard from earlier on the call. That's how I have some writers who pick their own topics. They're really good at it, and others that I make assignments for. How many articles do you have to write before Google accepts you, Gary asked? And the answer is between 25 and 50. Generally, I could talk more about that. And then just circling back to Rod's question about where do you search for original news, and
that's basically going to be covered in the course, right? I mean,
yeah,
kind of something that you cover.
Yeah, that's right. But let me just say generically that most of the breaking news that happens in this world that the big news sources cover, there's only like 1 or 2 reporters who are actually on site, and everybody else, the thousands of other newspapers in the world, are just kind of regurgitating what those people said and the quotes that they made in interviews. So that's what even the big companies do primarily. So actually finding news topics and sources for that information is just a matter of going to news sites. So that's not a big secret actually. And then how to outsource, we have a lot of detail on that in the course.
Cool. Kevin, I actually don't remember the name of the company that produces those automated articles, but I'm sure you could Google it and figure it out. If I do recall, there was one that was in Chicago that was producing them, and one of their niches was actually Little League, maybe that would help you find them. They actually produced automated articles that for like Little League games, just by I think like parents like upload information stuff into their cell phones, and it scrapes this data and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. So all right, so I think we've answered most of the questions. We might have missed a few, so I apologize if we've missed your question. I do see one here from Jay Jordan was asking, can this be automated so it won't take a lot of time? Yes, it definitely can be automated to a large degree. Isn't that correct, Jeff?
Yeah, a lot of it, I mean, it's WordPress, so it's very simple, yeah. and usually your outsourcing isn't just for writing, but it's also for posting the articles onto your website.
Okay. It's, so Casey was having a problem with the order page. We should have actually probably mentioned this earlier. Is there a support address or an email address that people can reach you at for support if they have any issues with their order and stuff like that?
Yeah, support@newschest.com.
Okay, so support@newschest.com. Sounds like Casey was having an issue with getting to the payment page. So you might try like, I don't know, maybe try like a different browser. Like if you're having trouble in Internet Explorer or Firefox, or if you're on an iPad or something, you know, whatever you're using, you might just try a different browser or something and see if that helps. Just go back to that address, newschest.com/Eric, and just try again. Hopefully
yeah,
that'll work for you.
Yeah, that's right, because there are people who are getting in successfully and making the payments, so it might just be a matter of trying again.
All right. Derek was asking, do you need the Pretty Link plugin? I'm actually not even familiar with what that is. Does that ring a bell, Jeff?
Well, no, you don't. You know, you want your links to include article titles.
Oh, okay.
You don't want them shortened or prettied in any way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Cool. Well, we're going on, boy, we're getting close to an hour and a half here, so I think we're going to wrap it up. Again, the link to join is newschest.com/Eric. And really appreciate you all coming out tonight. Again, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee that Jeff is offering, so I think it's definitely worth taking a look at. And as you know, as he's shown, proof, this is something that works. This is a system that is repeatable. We hear the testimony from Chris that he's gotten into it and is making money with his first Google News site. So, if you're someone who's serious about adding this kind of income stream to your business, I mean, I think this would be a great investment for you. That's why I decided to do this webinar. That's why I asked Jeff to do it in the first place. And Jeff, thank you very much for doing this evening. I really appreciate it. And we've got a lot of great information. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you, Eric. And thanks for those of you guys who signed up. I'm really looking forward to working with you and seeing you in the members area. And I think I'm really happy that you're going to be on your way to being a Google News site owner very soon. So thanks for doing that. And for the others of you who are still thinking about it, take it seriously. It's an opportunity that very few people avail themselves of, but it's a really great one, and I recommend it to you.
Absolutely. We got a lot of people on the call that are typing in thank you, Jeff and Eric, thank you, Eric and Jeff. Thanks, guys. So you're welcome. And again, thank you all for being Eric's Tips subscribers. Really appreciate it. I really value you all. Thank you so much. And Gary says God bless, and I say God bless you all as well. And thanks again, Jeff. And I would just like to wish everyone a good night or a good day wherever you are in the world. And we'll be in touch in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.